Hi, I'm Deborah.
I'm Lawrence.
And so today we're going to talk about headaches in kids and teens. We usually, most of our videos are for kids and teens, and this one actually is for parents as well as kids and teens, because this is something, the diagnosis and treatment of headaches obviously involves the parents as well as the kid. So the reason we started thinking about this was actually two reasons. One is because anxiety among kids and teens is getting much more prevalent, and obviously there's at least one type of headache, tension headaches, that is caused to a great extent by anxiety and stress. Another kind, migraines, is usually exacerbated by stress and anxiety. So the other reason we decided to do this is because Lawrence was recently diagnosed with migraines. This was not a huge surprise because my mother and I both suffered from headaches. So, 80 to 90% of kids who are diagnosed with migraines have a relative who also had them. So this was a really long process, the diagnosis.
Especially the drive to the clinic.
Yeah. We're lucky because we live in the San Francisco Bay Area, and one of the best center or areas for medicine in general is UCSF. So that's where Lawrence was treated. So we thought we'd talk about the process to some extent, and also what's really important is getting a 504 plan, because if you're a kid or a teen who has headaches, then school is a really significant part of your life, and your headaches are going to have an impact on your schoolwork and vice versa.
So I had been getting migraines for a while, but for a long time it was just, normal headaches. And then for a while it was just my head constantly hurt, but it was like pretty weak, and then it would spike. And that's about where I am now, but it's been getting, worse in like the amount of pain. And it sucks because I'll just be like, chilling, actually doing work for once. And then just out of nowhere my head starts hurting. And, it's not as easy to focus on writing a English paper while my head is pounding like somebody's taking a jackhammer to the inside of it. So it really is not at all like helpful. It sucks, honestly. I hate it, and I'm really glad that I was able to get medications that can control it when I have a migraine, because it's better to have something that can control them than be constantly having migraines and have nothing to control it. And yeah, I'm glad, but also it still sucks.
Well, I think something also to point out is that you are, so you saw not only a pediatric neurologist who specialized in headaches, but also a psychologist. So
Yes, folks, you heard it. Headache psychologist.
Yeah, so the approach for treating migraines, and I think probably also for treating headaches in children, is not in children, kids and teens, is not just medication, and actually in some cases may not start with medication. So it's more of a holistic type of treatment, because what happens is basically one doctor I saw described it as trying to calm down your overly sensitive brain. So certain things can trigger migraines, and so you want to some extent make your brain less likely to get triggered by those things by, for instance, having a regular sleep schedule, getting enough sleep, and having a balanced and regular diet, and especially eating breakfast. So what do you think the chances are you're going to do those things?
0.
Yeah. So I thought we'd throw that out there, even though we're not anticipating this being a big part of Lawrence's treatment without a lot of.
Honestly, I cannot for the life of me maintain a good sleep schedule. My eating habits are a mess, and I'm constantly stressed out because of school. So yeah, migraines, I think I should have had, accept as a fact of life for me, honestly. That kind of sucks, but whatever.
Well, so, anyway, but just so you know, then it's not just if you get diagnosed with headaches that the only thing that's going to happen is you're going to be given medication. Nowadays, that's not the case anymore. It's as I said, a much more holistic approach, looking at a lot of different things. As I was looking around a little more and getting some information about headaches, one article I ran into was kind of frightening in a way. It was directed toward parents, and it said, if your child has headaches, these are the things you need to do. And it talked about some of the things that Lawrence's doctors talked about: sleep schedule, eating well, lowering stress. There's a huge problem with that. The first thing that should happen, parents, if your child has headaches that are chronic headaches and have been going on, that are unusual in any way or have been going on in a while, and bear in mind I am not a doctor in any way, shape, or form, you go to the pediatrician. You take your child to the pediatrician. You get your child diagnosed by a doctor. The problem with this article is it's basically saying you can diagnose your own child. Don't bother going to a doctor. I don't think that's how they meant to make it sound,
stupid.
But it was kind of appalling that they didn't say, if your child has headaches, the first thing you want to do is take them to the doctor.
It's really stupid because, sure, you may think, oh, headaches aren't hard to diagnose. Your head hurts? Headache. No.
Yeah,
go see a doctor.
It's complicated.
Seriously, dude.
The other thing is, if your child has a headache after a head injury, immediately go to the doctor, if not the emergency room. Okay, so this is not something, first of all, that you should dismiss. Sure, everyone has headaches at some point or another, but it's not something that should be just brushed aside. It also shouldn't be something that you are so afraid of that you don't take your child to the doctor. Don't go to the worst, darkest place and assume that your child has something like a brain tumor, because that's very, very rare. Okay, so don't let a fear like that stop you or paralyze you so that you don't take your child to the doctor.
Because then,
there's no time to waste.
Sucks.
When you talk about how your headaches, how your teachers last year reacted to how you behave during your headaches, when you can stop yawning because of your lack of sleep.
I wish you weren't right. But anyways, a lot of the time I didn't actually mention it to the teachers. I mostly just stayed quiet and just, suffered in silence.
And they assumed you just were being uncooperative.
Yeah, that's about the case. And when I did, they were like, oh, okay. Go get Advil. And I was like, Advil doesn't help me.
Yeah.
We don't know what to do about it, though.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, when my headaches started when I was a teenager, and I started taking more and more, I don't think we had Advil then, but let's say more and more aspirin until I was eventually up to, I think, like 12 aspirin a day. So finally, I went to a neurologist. So when your child is taking, when you, as a kid or teen, or child, as a parent of a child, is taking, multiple doses of analgesics or painkillers of some kind during the day, then it's gone on too long. Okay, so this is not something, this is kind of like depression. You cannot, when it involves a child, you cannot let it go on too long because it's having an impact on their life. So it's very important to get this treated. Now, if you live in an area that is not as I said, we're really lucky. There were you know, expert, well qualified doctors close by for Lawrence to see. Still took a long time going through the whole process of getting to see the right people, but it's worth, even if you have to drive somewhere and stay overnight, to have your child see the best person in the area, assuming that you can afford it or your insurance will pay for it, because you don't have to see the person that often, right? And Lawrence, for instance, is going to probably have some appointments by online. So also, do not let the pediatrician tell you, as I said, brush you off or tell you this isn't important. This is important. This is your life if you're the kid, or your child's life if you're the parent. I know we're all busy, but this is really essential. Okay, so one of the best things that came about from that appointment is these many, many sheets of paper. And one of them was a letter that it's a form letter that the neurologist and the psychologist wrote to Lawrence's school. So what they did is, so this is a letter you need for a 504 plan. 504 plan, I think we talked about in another video. It shouldn't be that much of a problem to get one, because the school doesn't have to spend money. When they have to spend money for like an individualized education plan, a lot of times that involves spending money on the part of the school district.
And they're probably going to shun that.
Yeah, so it's a lot more difficult. A 504 is basically, you're saying that
I have stuff going on, please, help, give me help when needed.
Yeah, I mean, so for instance, some of the they have this is like a 1.5 page letter. So they give they said, please initiate a 504 plan to include the following, and then they have a list of, they're not really suggestions, they are directives. So they're saying this is what the school needs to do. One thing I thought was really interesting is they said Lawrence has been encouraged to distract himself when he has a migraine. So they said he may appear to laugh or engage with peers even during a flare-up. Distraction is encouraged behavior by his treatment team. So just little things like that, so that they wouldn't say, a teacher or administrator wouldn't say, he says he's having a migraine, why is he talking to his friends? So something like that, where, things that will diminish the school's, the likelihood that the school will respond by thinking he's malingering, he's faking it or whatever. Little things like allowing him to extra time to complete assignments. Things like, I think they were also talking about having the school not schedule a class for you first thing, to have like a free period for you first thing. Things like, we recommend that his teachers limit the amount of homework he receives to only the volume needed to demonstrate the learning of the material. For instance, they said, it is recommended that Lawrence be permitted to take breaks during the day to cope with his migraine in a quiet room where he can practice his coping skills. If at the onset or worsening of headache, please allow him to take his acute medications and rest in a safe and quiet area. If desired, please provide pairing with a peer who would be willing and able to share notes. It's really important that you get the diagnosis, get the letter you need for the 504 plan, then you give it to the school, and the parents meet with them to it's a very official process. So you like to officially ask for these accommodations. So this is something that if you, or you as the kid or teen, or if you're the parent, have to realize this is really important to get this taken care of. I know when I have a headache, I can't think about anything else.
It's hard for me to focus.
You can't use your brain. It hurts to use your brain.
It's hard for me to focus when I'm having a migraine, which can impair my ability to actually do work.
The other thing you'll realize is there are different kinds of migraine. So Lawrence, for instance, doesn't have the auras that precede a migraine. The definition of migraine has now been expanded beyond what it used to be. So you may not realize you have a migraine, or if you're the parent of a kid with headaches, may not realize that these are migraines. So please realize that this is not, what you think of is someone being unable to move, unable to bear any light. That's not necessarily, if that doesn't track with what's going on, that doesn't mean it's not a migraine. And it might not be a migraine. It might be chronic headaches, tension headaches. And again, that's why we're talking about this on this channel, because it's exacerbated or caused by stress and anxiety and tension. And so this is something that's not going to get better because it feeds into each other. So the headache makes it harder to do schoolwork, and then you
not
or
doing
your
schoolwork
child,
stresses you out,
right?
Which
so
brings on more.
So it's just a vicious cycle. So it's really important to address this, to be very firm with insisting that the situation be referred to a specialist, and also being very firm with the school and about this being implemented, and because it's really can have an unbelievably significant effect on quality of life, and you, if you're the kid, or your child, if you're the parent, on the future. So it's really important to address this. So I'm glad that we finally got it addressed.
Mm-hmm.
So, anything else you want to add?
No.
So we hope this has been helpful. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. Obviously, we're not, as I said, we're not medical professionals, but we're happy to point you toward any information that might be helpful. I'm going to put links below to articles that should be helpful. And as I said, I hope this helps. See you next time. Take care.